Chapter on.
From high atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where we don't think you're obliged to celebrate anybody else's sex life, no matter what goddamn month it is. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Welcome to the Blast Radius. It is so good to have you with us tonight. And let's jump right into the proceedings, shall we? Independence Hall, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Sunday, the 4th of July, 1976, 10:25 a.m. On the occasion of America's 200th birthday, the President of the United States strides up to the rostrum just outside the building that gave birth to the Republic to deliver one of the most important addresses ever given by an occupant of that office. But the President isn't who the President is supposed to be, not really by anyone's reckoning. Gerald Rudolph Ford, age 62, out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, by way of Omaha, Nebraska, has never been elected to any office higher than congressman from the Michigan 5th District. He is, in point of fact, the most accidental of all accidental presidents. Up until October of 1973, to the extent that most Americans were familiar with Jerry Ford, it was because he had been the House Minority Leader for about the past dozen years. He was one of the most universally well-respected members of Congress back when that was a thing, and he had previously served on the Warren Commission back in '64. But then Vice President Spiro Agnew was forced to resign from office owing to a graft and corruption scandal dating back to his days as governor of Maryland. And needless to say, October of 1973 was not the ideal time to be swapping out vice presidents, for at that very same moment, the Watergate scandal is reaching a fever pitch and gaining critical mass, and it's increasingly becoming apparent that the vice president, whoever that winds up being, has a significantly non-zero chance of ascending to the top job sooner than later. In other words, the man we're about to install in the vice presidency needs to be somebody that both houses of Congress, both of them controlled by Democrats, are comfortable with in the presidency. And it speaks to the esteem with which Jerry Ford was held by his colleagues that when it came time to vote to confirm his nomination, the totals were 92-3 in the Democrat-controlled Senate and 387-35 in the Democrat-controlled House. And in the event, as many suspected, it was less than 10 months later, Friday, 9 August 1974, that Jerry Ford was being sworn in as 38th President of the United States, with 2.5 years remaining in what was supposed to be Nixon's second term, which brings us back to Independence Hall on Bicentennial Day. If 1976 had been as self-conscious an era as the one in which we live today, Ford might have opened his speech by borrowing a line from Dante in Clerks. "I'm not even supposed to be here today." And even if it wasn't something quite that on the nose, there would have been some sort of oblique reference to the fact that this presidential address was being given by an accidental president who never aspired to nor sought the office. There probably would have also been some oblique reference to the problems that were afflicting the country at that time, which, no matter what anybody tries to tell you, were much more severe than what we face today. We were 23 months removed from the only presidential resignation in our history. We were 16 months removed from our final ignominious withdrawal from the first war we ever lost, on which we spent, some might say wasted, the lives of 58,000 of our finest young men. We had a stagflated economy with a top marginal income tax rate of over 50%, and we were dealing with OPEC oil embargoes whose ground level effect was that many of the people who listened to this speech on the radio listened to it while they were spending a third of the day waiting in line at the gas station. Did the president mention any of that stuff in his address? He did not. Did he make any reference, either implicit or explicit, to his own accidental status? He did not, because he didn't need to. You know why? Because nobody ever questioned Ford's legitimacy, because there was sufficient respect for the office of the presidency itself and the constitutional mechanism that put him there, that it simply didn't need to be remarked upon. And so President Ford stood up there on that sweltering Philadelphia morning and gave an address written by himself with no input from any speechwriter that did nothing but celebrate the hope and the promise and the greatness of the United States of America. You know, this is a speech that's been almost entirely forgotten 50 years later, but it shouldn't have been, because I think it's a hell of a great speech. It's the kind of speech you would never hear from any political leader today, and which you certainly won't hear on the occasion of the semi-quincentennial next month. Speeches like this, they just don't exist anymore. Everything is too cynical now, too self-conscious, too self-loathing, too obsessed with political advantage and partisan recrimination. An accidental Republican president going into a Democrat city being treated with courtesy and respect and decorum by all simply because he is the man who occupies the office, and giving an address that says only nice, uplifting things about the country and its people and its history is something that is frankly inconceivable here in the third decade of the 21st century. And so let's read out the speech that Jerry Ford gave that day and see if any of our better angels of our nature can be found within it. Begin quote. Charlton Heston, Mayor Rizzo, Governor Shapp, Reverend clergy, distinguished members of Congress, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On Washington's birthday in 1861, a fortnight after 6 states had formed a confederacy of their own, Abraham Lincoln came here to Independence Hall, knowing that in 10 days he would face the cruelest national crisis of our 85-year history. I am filled with deep emotion, he said, at finding myself standing here in the place where collected together the wisdom, the patriotism, the devotion to principle from which sprang the institutions under which we live. Today, we can all share these simple, noble sentiments. Like Lincoln, I feel both pride and humility, rejoicing and reverence as I stand in the place where 2 centuries ago, the United States of America was conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. From this small but beautiful building, then the most imposing structure in the colonies, came the 2 great documents that continue to supply the moral and intellectual power for the American adventure in self-government. Before me is the great bronze bell that joyously rang out the news of the birth of our nation from the steeple of the State House. It was never intended to be a church bell, yet a generation before the great events of 1776, the elected Assembly of Pennsylvania ordered that it be inscribed with this biblical verse, "Proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof." The American settlers had many, many hardships, but they had more liberty than any other people on earth. That was what they came for and what they meant to keep. The verse from Leviticus on the Liberty Bell refers to the ancient Jewish year of Jubilee. In every 50th year, the Jubilee restored the land and the equality of persons that prevailed when the children of Israel entered the land of promise. And both gifts came from God, as the Jubilee regularly reminded them. Our founding fathers knew their Bibles as well as their Blackstone. They boldly reversed the age-old political theory that kings derived their powers from God and asserted that both powers and unalienable rights belong to the people as direct endowments from their creator. Furthermore, they declared that governments are instituted among men to secure their rights and to serve their purposes, and governments continue only so long as they have the consent of the governed. With George Washington already commanding the American Continental Army in the field, the Second Continental Congress met here in 1776 not to demand new liberty, but to regain long-established rights which were being taken away from them without their consent. The American Revolution was unique and remains unique in that it was fought in the name of the law as well as liberty. At the start, the Declaration of Independence proclaimed the divine source of individual rights and the purpose of human government as Americans understood it. That purpose is to secure the rights of the individuals against the government itself. But the Declaration did not tell us how to accomplish this purpose or what kind of government to set up. First, our independence had to be won. It was not won easily, as the nearby encampment of Valley Forge, the rude bridge at Concord, and the crumbling battlements of Yorktown bear a vivid interest. We have heard much, though we cannot hear it too often, about 56 Americans who cast their votes and later signed their names to Thomas Jefferson's ringing Declaration of Equality and Freedom, so movingly read to us this morning by Miss Marian Anderson. Do you know what price the signers of that parchment paid for their patriotism, the devotion to principle of which Lincoln spoke? John Hancock of Massachusetts was one of the wealthiest men who came to Philadelphia. Later, as he stood outside Boston and watched the enemy sweep by, he said, "Burn, Boston," though it makes John Hancock a beggar. Altogether, of the 56 men who signed our great declaration, 5 were taken prisoner, 12 had their homes sacked, 2 lost their sons, 9 of them died in the war itself. Those men knew what they were doing. In the final stirring words of the Declaration, they pledged to one another our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And when liberty was at stake, they were willing to pay the price. We owe a great debt to these founders and to the foot soldiers who followed General Washington into battle after battle, retreat after retreat. But it is important to remember that final success in that struggle for independence, as in the many struggles that have followed, was due to the strength and support of ordinary men and women who were motivated by three powerful impulses: personal freedom, self-government, and national unity. For all but the black slaves, many of whom fought bravely beside their masters because they also heard the promise of the Declaration, freedom was won in 1783, but the loose Articles of Confederation had proved inadequate in war and were even less effective in peace. Again, in 1787, representatives of the people and the states met in this place to form a more perfect union, a permanent legal mechanism that would translate the principles and purposes of Jefferson's Declaration into effective self-government. 6 signers of the Declaration came back to forge the Constitution, including the sage of Philadelphia, Benjamin Franklin. Jefferson had replaced him as ambassador in Paris. The young genius of the Constitutional Convention was another Virginian, James Madison. The hero of the Revolution, Washington, was called back from Mount Vernon to preside. Seldom in history have the men who made a revolution seen it through, but the United States was fortunate. The result of their deliberations and compromises was our Constitution, which William Gladstone, a great British Prime Minister, called the most wonderful work ever struck off at a given time by the brain and purpose of man. The Constitution was created to make the promise of the Declaration come true. The Declaration was not a protest against government, but against the excesses of government. It prescribed the proper role of government to secure the rights of individuals and to affect their safety and their happiness. In modern society, no individual can do this all alone, so government is not necessarily evil, but a necessary good. The framers of the Constitution feared a central government that was too strong, as many Americans rightly do today. The framers of the Constitution, after their experience under the Articles, feared a central government that was too weak, as many Americans rightly do today. They spent days studying all of the contemporary governments of Europe and concluded with Dr. Franklin that all contained the seeds of their own destruction. So the framers built something new, drawing upon their English traditions, on the Roman Republic, on the uniquely American institution of the town meeting. To reassure those who felt the original Constitution did not sufficiently spell out the unalienable rights of the Declaration, the first United States Congress added, and the states ratified, the first 10 amendments, which we call the Bill of Rights. Later, after a tragic fraternal war, those guarantees were expanded to include all Americans. Later still, voting rights were assured for women and for younger citizens 18 to 21 years of age. It is good to know that in our own lifetime we have taken part in the growth of freedom and in the expansion of equality, which began here so long ago. This union of corrected wrongs and expanded rights has brought the blessings of liberty to the 215 million Americans, but the struggle for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is never truly won. Each generation of Americans, indeed of all humanity, must strive to achieve these aspirations anew. Liberty is a living flame to be fed, not dead ashes to be revered, even in a bicentennial year. It is fitting that we ask ourselves hard questions, even on a glorious day like today. Are the institutions under which we live working the way they should? Are the foundations laid in 1776 and 1789 still strong enough and sound enough to resist the tremors of our times? Are our God-given rights secure? Are hard-won liberties protected? The very fact that we can ask these questions, that we can freely examine and criticize our society, is cause for confidence itself. Many of the voices raised in doubt 200 years ago served to strengthen and improve the decisions finally made. The American adventure is a continuing process. As one milestone is passed, another is sighted. As we achieve one goal, a longer lifespan, a literate population, a leadership in world affairs, we raise our sights. As we begin our 3rd century, there is still much to be done. We must increase the independence of the individual and the opportunity of all Americans to attain their full potential. We must ensure each citizen's right to privacy. We must create a more beautiful America, making human works conform to the harmony of nature. We must develop a safer society, so ordered that happiness may be pursued without fear of crime or man-made hazards. We must build a more stable international order, politically, economically, and legally. We must match the great breakthroughs of the past century by improving health and conquering disease. We must continue to unlock the secrets of the universe beyond our planet, as well as within ourselves. We must work to enrich the quality of American life at work, at play, and in our homes. It is right that Americans are always improving. It is not only right, it is necessary. From need comes action, as it did here in Independence Hall. Those fierce political rivals, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, in their later years carried out a warm correspondence. Both died on the 4th of July, 1826, having lived to see the handiwork of their finest hour endure for a full 50 years. They had seen the Declaration's clear call for human liberty and equality arouse the hopes of all mankind. Jefferson wrote to Adams that even should the cloud of barbarism and despotism again obscure the science and libraries of Europe, this country remains to preserve and restore life and liberty to them. Over a century later, in 1936, Jefferson's dire prophecy seemed about to come true. President Franklin Roosevelt, speaking for a mighty nation, reinforced by millions and millions of immigrants who had joined the American adventure, was able to warn the new despotisms. We too, born to freedom and believing in freedom, are willing to fight to maintain freedom. We and all others who believe as deeply as we do would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. The world knows where we stand. The world is ever conscious of what Americans are doing, for better or for worse, because the United States today remains the most successful realization of humanity's universal hope. The world may or may not follow, but we lead because our whole history says that we must. Liberty is for all men and women as a matter of equal and unalienable right. The establishment of justice and peace abroad will in large measure depend upon the peace and justice we create here in our own country, where we still show the way. The American adventure began here with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. It continues in a common conviction that the source of our blessings is a loving God in whom we trust. Therefore, I ask all the members of the American family, our guests and friends, to join me now in a moment of silent prayer and meditation in gratitude for all that we have received, and to ask continued safety and happiness for each of us and for the United States of America. Thank you, and God bless you, end quote. President Gerald Ford, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 4 July, 1976. And with that, I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind attention and convey you into the custody of my distinguished colleague, your illustrious co-host, the one and only, your friend and mine, Mr. Caucasian Sasquatch.
Tactical nuke incoming!
There are no adequate substitutes for father, mother, and children bound together in loving commitment to nurture and protect. No government, no matter how well-intentioned, can take the place of the family in the scheme of things. Gerald Ford. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Blast Radius. We are going to pretty much wax philosophical for this entire show, so I hope you enjoy it. I have one video that we're going to look at the bottom half, but on the bottom third, but we'll get to
it. Yeah, we'll get to it. It's gonna.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it, but you're gonna want to hang around for this one.
Right. All right. So that is actually a fairly riveting speech.
It was, I think, and I was really fascinated as I was reading it because it seems like a presidential speech given on such a momentous occasion that was such a well-written speech that you would think part of it at least would have stuck in the public consciousness to some extent, but I don't think any of it has. And I wonder how much of that has to do with who the president was. And also, I mean, let's face it, Jerry Ford is not one of our presidents who we regard as a particularly great orator. So maybe that has something to do with it as well.
Consider the circumstances. He was never elected president, right?
Or vice president.
So, like, when he ends up taking the office, it came as much down left field for him as it did for everybody else in the country. And you make a very good point that nobody really questioned it. Everybody kind of looked around and was like, shit, that one wasn't on my bingo card.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got Gerald Ford as a president. All right.
Yeah. And because there is such broad belief in our system and our constitutional mechanisms, the mechanisms that elevated him to the office, part of which is the 25th Amendment, which was still pretty brand new at that point. People were, like I said, there was never any question from any quarter of Ford's legitimacy to occupy the office. And I think it's to Ford's credit also that he didn't display any self-consciousness about occupying the office or about wielding the moral authority that the occupant of that office is supposed to be able to wield, because otherwise, why are you going to be there? I mean, everybody knows that he never sought the office, never aspired to the office. He had to have his arm twisted pretty hard in order to agree to being installed in the vice presidency. But the argument that was put to him was basically, there's nobody else who is going to be agreeable to both sides. You are it, dude.
Right.
You're like, and you are the only one.
He was. He was the only person that could have taken that role at that time. If you tried to push it off onto anyone else, there would have been an uproar on one side or the other. But when it landed Gerald Ford, everybody, like I said, looked around and was like, do we even know who that is? I mean, yeah, he's been the, minority leader for what, like 12 years at the time?
Yep.
15 years since
I think he was the minority leader ever since he got done with the Warren Commission. So starting I guess it was since the early 60s. From the early 60s until 73, he was the House minority leader. And so that's to the extent that his name
not
was
exactly rock star material. Right? That's not exactly rock star material at all.
I mean, how many Americans today who aren't highly attuned to politics could even tell you who the House minority leader is? Spoiler alert, it's the guy with the sombrero.
It's the guy with the sombrero.
What
is that guy's name? Hakeem Jeffries. Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised he doesn't have Haktua Girl on campaign with him.
And how he is still the minority leader, I don't have any idea. How crying Chuck Schumer is still the Senate minority leader, I have no idea. Because the way it normally goes, when you lose an election as disastrously as the Democrats lost the last election, the first order of business when you get back to work is to replace your two congressional leaders, because clearly their leadership is not working out very well. So you put in new leaders, and hopefully they do things better, and they give you they enhance your chances of claiming majorities in the next midterm election, which of course is coming up here in a little under 6 months now. But I really have no explanation for why the Democrats have chosen to stick with these two particular leaders, and I guess we will never have a good answer for that unless you've got one.
You've made a point I had not actually considered. There's been a few things that's happened since I would say since Biden left office. Regardless, I don't know. Uh, like the fact, like you just pointed out, that typically, actually, it was before Biden left office because Kamala was pretty much just placed in a position to become president. So that's kind of weird. And then you
Yes.
have this weird shenanigans going on in LA over there. And then you have the the whole idea, like you said, you shuffle the deck, see who else new might come out on top, and try for a better midterm. But there doesn't seem to be any shuffling taking place anywhere at all.
And is there one single person in the Western Hemisphere who thinks Hakeem Jeffries is an effective leader? Because if there is, I haven't met them. And I think we can say the same thing about Chuck Schumer. I think even most Democrats can't stand Chuck Schumer because, I mean, for Christ's sake, he's Chuck Schumer. How could anybody ever stand that man?
Yeah,
I mean,
I've never been able to really deal with Chuck Schumer. He just seems to say whatever he read last.
and it's, I guess the procedures are more rigid in the Senate than they are in the House because in the Senate it's basically seniority and nothing else. Even if you're completely worthless leadership material, if you're next in seniority and it's your turn, then you get to be the leader, and that's all there is to it. There's more deliberation that goes on in the House, which I think arguably makes the continued entrenchment of Mr. Jeffries even more baffling because it wouldn't be that much trouble to get rid of him and actually install someone with a tiny bit of charisma or a tiny bit of a
Who would that
grasp
be?
of that's a good question. I'm not sure of the answer, but let me look it up right fast.
I mean, would it be just the next in command, politically, or would it be somebody, I don't know, with a chance?
It would be normally, I think the minority whip would be the next man up, and I'm not sure who that is. I'm typing it in right now. House minority whip. Catherine Clark of Massachusetts. And yeah, she's a raving wokester, obviously.
Just out of curiosity, how many people have to die before the minority whip becomes president?
I don't think she's on the list.
Okay, that's the okay. So where does that list end? Speaker?
I believe it ends with all of the cabinet secretaries, but I will verify that for you right now.
Cool, because I've always been curious. It seems like there was a movie that went over all of that, or no, it was a series. It was the what's his name? What's the fucking show?
Battlestar Galactica. Laura Roslin became president when she was Secretary of Education because the whole rest of the cabinet got wiped out.
That's true, but there was the secret. No, that's not it.
All right, the line of succession is 18 slots long, and do you want me to proceed with reading it?
Sure.
Vice President number 1, obviously. Number 2, Speaker of the House. Number 3, President Pro Tem of the Senate. Secretary of State is number 4. Secretary of the Treasury is number 5. Secretary of War is number 6. Attorney General, number 7. Number 8 is Secretary of the Interior. Number 9, Secretary of Agriculture. Number 10, Secretary of Commerce. Number 11, the Secretary of Labor. HHS Secretary is number 12. Housing and Urban Development, number 13. Transportation, 14. Energy, 15. Education, 16. Veterans Affairs, 17. And strangely, pulling up the rear at number 18 is the Secretary of Homeland Security. And I expect that's probably because that was the cabinet post that was created after all the rest. I mean, that would be my guess. But that's all.
Right.
That's it. That's the 18.
Okay, but the assumption would be that when the president dies and vice president takes his place, a new vice president is either appointed or chosen, right?
Yeah, yeah, and the point being here that's relevant to what we're discussing is that the only members of Congress who are on the list are the Speaker of the House and the President pro tem of the Senate. Everything else
Right.
is cabinet secretaries.
Sure. So as the secretaries drop, hypothetically speaking, becoming president in sequence, is there a process in place to replace those secretaries as it occurs? I'm assuming not a single hit took out the entire freaking cabinet, right?
Yeah, but
I'm assuming it takes place over the course of like say 6 months to a year, like blip 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 blip.
Yeah,
blip, blip,
I
blip.
mean, to the extent that there was some catastrophic mass
Thank you,
casualty
Craig, baby,
event.
go. Designated Survivor was the name of the series. They went through all of this shit.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that show.
The first season was
But
good. It went downhill real quick after that.
I don't know whether, I mean, there probably is. Our government has a doomsday scenario probably for every set of circumstances you could possibly envisage. But, you know, normally, as we know, when there's a cabinet vacancy in the, go ahead.
I have it on good authority that they discussed it with both Heinlein and Asimov, and they had literally had freaking the guy who invented the telecommunications satellite. Was his freaking name?
You got me. I don't know that one.
Oh my God. He wrote Rendezvous with Rama and Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke was literally on the government payroll for like 40 fucking years. If it's a consideration, they've got a deep doomsday plan for it.
Oh yeah. Many of the big sci-fi authors have spent time working for and with the government in various capacities, you know, because there's been for a long time like the President's Council on Science or whatever it is, and yeah, those are the kind of minds that you want contributing to projects like that, because you don't just want the thinking of government bureaucrat apparatchiks, you want the thinking of people with vivid imaginations who are thinking outside the box and imagining how things might be down the road hundreds of years from now. And that's not really the kind of thinking you can get from your average government bureaucrat. So yeah, sci-fi authors, if you're trying to toil in the vineyard of imagination, can be incredibly valuable to the government from time to time. And I think Asimov and Heinlein and Clarke all served in that capacity at one time or another, because why wouldn't they? I mean, if you've got them at your disposal and you're able to get them to agree to share some of their mental energy with you for whatever project you're trying to achieve, then why wouldn't you use them?
Well, I mean, I couldn't think of anyone like Asimov and Heinlein especially, but also Arthur C. Clarke that has spent as much time considering what a you know contact of the third kind might be. You know.
Oh, speaking
These
of that,
people have.
I wonder if anybody in the chat has seen the new Spielberg picture. What's it called? Disclosure Day. It's really getting kind of savaged in the reviews from what I've been seeing, I guess we're up against one of these circumstances again where the mainstream shill reviewers all gave it wonderfully glowing praise, and then normal people started seeing it and said, my God, this sucks a donkey's ass. What are we doing here? Yeah,
Which one are we complaining about? Is this Spider Noir or Odyssey?
Oh, Disclosure Day, Spielberg.
Oh shit! There's another flop. My bad. I forgot all about that one. I don't know. Maybe I would like to believe that it's just something that we're missing, and that Spielberg's still the master we always said he was, right? But
I haven't watched any of the review videos that I've seen in my YouTube feed, but judging from the titles and the thumbnails, there seems to be a pretty strong perception that it's the worst thing Spielberg has ever done, and he should probably stop making movies, which they're probably not wrong. I mean, when you set aside Clint Eastwood, how many great pictures have ever been made by a director over age 80? I can't think of any. And like I said, Eastwood is the outlier.
I don't know. Hold on. How old was Mel Brooks when he did but Spaceballs was his last one?
Oh yeah, Mel Brooks is currently 100 and he is making Spaceballs 2 as we speak.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to that.
As long as he's in charge of it, I'm fine. I don't know if he's got an estate manager or something, but I hope that's the silliest bastard to ever walk the earth, because how on God's green earth do you follow up Spaceballs? I mean, the question was, how do you follow up Blazing Saddles? Right?
You don't.
Like, how? You don't. Spaceballs. Okay. All right. You followed up Blazing Saddles. Congratulations. Like, I'm impressed. Color me spotted. And you know what the name of Spaceballs 2 is supposed to be? This should be Spaceballs 3. Spaceballs 2 is supposed to be the search for more money.
Search for more money. Yep. You got that right. And also, he never made Jews in Space. I so badly wanted to see Jews in Space because the first time I saw History of the World Part 1, I'm too young to quite grasp all of the Mel Brooks humor, so I actually kind of thought Jews in Space was a real picture he was making, and I was looking forward to seeing it, and that was 45 years ago. Still sitting here waiting. Come on, Mel. You don't have that many years left. Give us Jews in Space.
He's probably the only director that could pull it off.
Oh, I know.
Anyone else would get canceled from orbit.
Oh, I know. And can you even imagine if, God forbid, Mel Brooks shuffled off the mortal coil and somebody tried to do a remake of Blazing Saddles in the present day? Can you even imagine how insufferably woke that picture would be?
Nope. I don't. Well, here's the thing. Hold on. There's a possibility. Do you remember the Barbie picture?
Yes.
And how the
one that I strangely loved,
right? That a single drop of masculinity broke the entire woke world of Barbie. It's exactly an amazing example of how society has slid so far that they don't recognize their own irony.
And I think
it's possible that could be done with this type of picture, but it would have to be intentionally done, right? So woke as to make all the racist jokes woke jokes that are too woke to be woke, but so woke that it's racist, if you get what I'm saying.
And I think I still haven't figured out, even though we've discussed it at great length and I made a couple of dedicated videos about it, whether the Barbie movie was brilliantly subversive satire or actual earnest woke tartary. And
see, it's the horseshoe theory all over again.
Yeah. But I think it is a legitimate achievement that the picture was made in such a way that I still find myself asking that question. I think that in itself is an achievement. And
agreed.
The picture obviously made a shitload of money, so, and it was people probably liked it for diametrically opposite reasons. And what an achievement to be able to make a film like that.
So I had a buddy of mine who I was talking to, and 3 weekends in a row, we were supposed to get together and go fishing or some crap, but 3 weekends in a row for different reasons, they decided to go see the Barbie movie. Right. And I knew something hinky was going on with the world because the first time it was her, the second time it was him, and the third time it was playing while they were waiting for some people to show up to go eat. And they were like, screw it, we'll just go watch the Barbie movie. And who does that? Right. I can't even think of a movie that I would do that with. And yet I could also see me doing it if the movie was good enough. And the movie was so ironically good that it might be great because it's completely unself-aware of what it's doing while doing it well.
Exactly. And it's impossible to know quite what to make of it. And I appreciate the director for, what's her name? Greta Gerwig. That's it. I appreciate her unwillingness to come out and solve the mystery one way or the other and just let the mystery exist, because that is actually the correct approach. And I think
so.
I think she should be proud of herself for that, for for making something, like I said, that is either brilliantly subversive satire of woke tartary or just straight up face value, completely earnest woke tartary. And
We'll never know.
what a difficult tightrope that is to walk. And I don't think anybody else has managed to walk it except her, and more power to her for it. And she made the studio a shitload of money. And if it is, in fact, an earnestly woke movie to be taken at face value, I think it's the only woke movie that's ever made $1 billion. So bully for her. Well done, Greta. Yeah.
But not only that, let her make another one, because we may have a crowning queen in line from Mel Brooks himself. Because if you're so ironic, you don't even see the irony until after you've accidentally made $1 billion at the box office. That I think that deserves another swing, bro. Like,
hell yeah.
Job. What's up, RLM? Welcome in.
That translates into, we need a sequel as quickly as possible. How goddamn much money do you want?
No. I wouldn't touch a sequel with that one. There's no way in hell you're going to do that twice on the same franchise. What you do is,
I know, but I'm saying that's normally the way it would go.
Sure. You turn around and hand her like He-Man or a couple of episodes of The Mandalorian, or I don't know, a whole season of Space Witches. Star Wars.
I've been surprised by how many people seem to be liking the He-Man movie. I figured it was going to be just another piece of shit, but
okay. Pop quiz. You have an ABC answer. You'll want to make a He-Man film. Do you A, follow the source material and do it basically like the cartoon from the 80s, but with live action and a little bit of special effects? B, make it woke and put a bitch in it and make her gay? Or C, do you just don't freaking do it? And which one do you think sells better?
I'm going to go the non-Kathy Kennedy route and say A.
Right.
And now, refresh my memory. Did He-Man actually originate with the 80s cartoon, or was there like a comic source material that I don't know about?
I'm not 100% on that. I believe it came out directly out of the desire of Mattel to have figures. He-Man, because there was He-Man. It seems like He-Man was based off of one of the original G.I. Joe figures or some crap, or the Conan figure or some shit. I can't remember,
because I was never. Go ahead.
I think he was designed to be copyright distinct from Conan.
I was never a very big fan of the He-Man cartoon, even though I was right in the demographic it was aimed at. I'm not sure exactly why. Just never really got into it that much compared to some of the other kids I knew. But I don't have the memory that it was such a major, big kind of popular property that there would be much point in resurrecting it in a live action feature, however many 45 years or how many years it is. Go ahead.
So on Saturday morning, you ran in there with your fucking Pop-Tarts and your Cheerios, and you sat cross-legged in front of the TV, right? And what did you watch?
Indeed. On Saturday morning, let's see. Land of the Lost. Super Friends.
Right.
Wacky
Races.
Oh, Star Trek the Animated Series. That was a big Saturday morning favorite.
And also Looney Tunes. But the people who did not watch those things were all watching like ABC or whatever it was, or NBC, whichever one, that had G.I. Joe, He-Man, Silverhawks, The Real Ghostbusters, and what was the other one? Anyway.
The Ghostbusters cartoon I remember primarily as a Saturday morning thing, but He-Man I remember as one of those cartoons that was on every afternoon.
And that was after it had been syndicated. Those were reruns, yeah.
And they usually were never the same thing at the same time.
Right. I get that. Animaniacs, dude. Like, the character of Sasquatch is largely influenced by Freakazoid and the Animaniacs. Basically, my superpowers are the same as Freakazoid. Anything that would be funny, I can do. But if it's not funny, I can't do it. So I can't fly, right? But I can make you look like a moron with just a few words.
Don't tell me
you'll
can't
say
fly.
most of them.
You're gonna blow my whole idealized image of you. All right.
Well,
all right. I just asked Gemini to throw a list of Saturday morning cartoons from 1985 at me. Adventures of the Gummy Bears? I never even heard of that.
That's going to include Care Bears. That's the Smurfs. That's going to include
the Smurfs. I'll give you that one. Alvin and the Chipmunks. I'll give you that one. Snorks. I don't think I've ever heard
Snorks, bro. That's the one I was trying to remember. I was like, what was the name of those guys?
The Punky Brewster cartoon, I vaguely remember.
Yeah.
Kid Video, I don't remember. Pink Panther, I remember that one. Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. Yep.
Fuck yeah, dude.
You bet your ass I watched that one.
Oh
yeah, brother. Jim Henson's Muppet Babies. Berenstain
Hell
Bears.
Yeah. All right, hold on. About the Jim Henson Muppet Babies, man. That was one of the greatest cartoons ever put to pen. It is highly underrated. The types of things that they dealt with in there were way ahead of its time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I recall vaguely enjoying that one too. Berenstain Bears, The Wuzzles, Little Muppet Monsters. There's 2 Muppet shows on here, apparently. CBS Story Break, I have no recollection of. Over on ABC, we have the Ewoks and Droids Adventure Hour. Do you remember that?
Vaguely. I couldn't get NBC. I had a fucking antenna.
The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which I have no recollection of. The Superpowers Team, Galactic Guardians, which was a spin-off of Super Friends, if I'm not mistaken. And we have The Littles, which I have no recollection of. And then in syndication, we've got Thundercats. Thundercats ho.
Oh!
Gotta love those Thundercats. Yep. I was a big Thundercats guy. I was a bigger Thundercats guy than a He-Man guy. That's for damn sure. The Care Bears, fuck the Care Bears. That's for girls. Jace and the Wheeled Warriors.
Dude, I'm about to check that one out.
An action-heavy series designed to sell Mattel toys featuring vehicle-based combat against plant-like mutants. That's not ringing any bells at all.
I vaguely have a memory of a guy turning into a car, but I think that's a totally different cartoon.
Yeah, it sounds like they're trying to combine a couple different things there and with enough distance to avoid a copyright suit, as often happens. All right, now we're gonna read out some weekday afternoon cartoons.
Hey, there's no Silverhawks in there? Oh, weekday afternoon, this is where the Silverhawks will pop up.
All right. The Powerhouse action hits. First off, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, obviously. That's the one that got us down this rabbit hole in the first place. She-Ra, Princess of Power, which is He-Man for girls, because let's be honest. If you were a boy and you watched She-Ra, you were probably turning out gay, because let's just be honest.
I watched every single episode, but it came on right after He-Man and right before G.I. Joe. So
that's
I was kind of stuck with
for you. So. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, fucking A. I'm ride to die on G.I. Joe. Had all the figures and everything. Had all the little vehicles, and I had all that shit. All of it. Transformers, had a lot of Transformers too. Yeah, we're getting into this shit now. Thundercats, there's your Thundercats. Voltron, I am all about some Voltron. I even had like the 2 foot tall, fanciest version of the Voltron thing that. Man, I had to save a lot of coins in a jar in order to afford that Voltron. And my dad always teased me that it was actually a doll. And I said, "Fuck you, Dad. It's not a doll. A damn science fiction machine."
What a dick.
I know. He gave me the hardest. Oh, you have your Voltron doll?
He was just being a dick to be a dick, not for any other reason.
Oh, I know. Absolutely.
Because people are going to be a dick out there.
Oh, here's one I forgot about. Mask, Mobile Armored Strike Command.
I
Command with a
remember that
K.
one. Right. I never liked that one very much.
GoBots. Everybody remembers the GoBots because they were the Walmart Transformers, basically. Bargain basement Transformers. Yeah, GoBots were shit. The cartoon was shit and the toys were shit. Everything was designed to be like 40% as good as the Transformers. Who bought that shit? Who watched that shit? I don't have the faintest idea, but it wasn't me because I had standards when I was a 10-year-old. Goddamn it.
I did. I played with all that shit.
Oh, and Inspector Gadget. Everybody loves some Inspector Gadget.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
That voice used to scare the shit out of me. Good evil voice.
I can't remember who fucking did it, but it's somebody who's super famous. He did the original Dr. Claw voice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, it is scary.
That was a very solid voiceover performance.
Yeah, I want to know.
All right, now I'm onto a bigger cartoon list. But this is turning into the cartoon episode pretty goddamn fast. I hope that's okay with the audience.
I'm good with it, bro. Let's do this shit. I'm 10 toes down on it.
Oh, here's your Animaniacs. Batman the Animated Series. That was a good one. But that I feel like that came along. Yeah, that doesn't come along until I'm 18, so I'm an adult already. What else do we have? Yeah, I just want stuff from the 80s, and they're giving me stuff that's from my kids and not necessarily me. There we got He-Man again. Man, there's been a lot of damn cartoons. In fact, let me go back to the AI and get some better stuff.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Right. I can't remember who it is. Damn it.
Oh yeah. If I switch the time frame from 85 back to 80, here's where some of the good shit is. The Richie Rich and Scooby Doo show. Super Friends. Obviously, I was a big Super Friends guy. The Wonder Twins are kind of stupid, but aside from the Wonder Twins, very solid show. But fuck the Wonder Twins is all I'm saying. Wonder Twin powers don't activate. Just go away, please. The Plastic Man show. Plastic Man was pretty cool. I had the stretchy Plastic Man doll, and you would always stretch it too far, and it would break, and the goopy shit would get everywhere, and your mom would yell at you. The New Adventures of Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels. Never heard of that one.
Captain Caveman and Son.
The Flintstones, the Daffy Duck Show, Batman and the Super 7, Johnny Quest and the Jetsons.
Right.
Yeah, they were still hanging on with a lot of the 60s stuff 20 years later, but that's fine because it was good stuff. I mean, not just cartoons, but live action stuff. So much of the stuff I watched when I was a kid was from the 60s. I know all the 60s sitcoms, all the 60s cartoons. Hell, cartoons. You remember how often they used to even show the Looney Tunes stuff from World War II.
The villain from Inspector Gadget was voiced by Gary Owens.
Gary Owens. That would not have been my guess, but then I probably wouldn't have had a guess.
At first, he was done by the what's his name, Jesse White, who did a lot of stuff like old Maytag commercials, and he did a mountain of work, like a bunch.
Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera. So that's Flintstones, Jetsons, the original Scooby-Doo. Yeah, and the original Scooby-Doo is far superior to any of the revivals that came along in the 80s. So that's not even a conversation.
Welcome in, LSD. It's been a while.
Somebody's got LSD up in here.
Seems Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds just invited herself. I'm not sure.
It was funny. We were at the baby shower yesterday. Yes, I was at a baby shower.
Yes.
I know men aren't supposed to go to baby showers, but when I raised this objection, as I told you before, I was informed very sternly that, Dad, times have changed. You're going to the fucking baby shower, and this is not a hill you want to die on. So, being a dutiful father, I went to the baby shower, and my son-in-law was making some lemonade. I didn't know that glittery lemonade was a thing, but apparently my daughter wanted to have glittery lemonade. So he pulls out a little vial thingy and takes the top off, and I swear to God, it looks like he's spiking the punch. It looks like he's dropping some acid in there, and we're all gonna have a we're all gonna have a 12-hour bender. But unfortunately, it was just glitter, so that was a bit of a disappointment.
Don't consume glitter. You ever heard of the glitter fiasco?
Yeah, consuming glitter would not be my first choice.
No, there's like a full-blown glitter mystery. When you get a few minutes and you've got your own time, and you want to be very confused, go and look up how much glitter is made and how much glitter is sold. And the disparity between these two numbers is absolutely mind-boggling. And I don't have my tinfoil hat handy, but I would really like to put it on right now.
Let's just pretend you have it on.
Right. So there are apparently twice as much glitter to 3 times as much glitter created a year as is sold on the global market. And this has been going on for years. So I have a question for you, big dog. And we all barking, right? Where is the glitter going?
I feel like somebody's building a glitter hydrogen bomb secretly and not telling the world about it.
Well, it's the weirdest thing. So there are lots of applications in war for tiny reflective pieces of metal that do stuff to things. And so it's not impossible that there is a government desire for such things. No. You got to remember the titty bars and the hookers, they're all part of the public market. So that's accounted for in the amount sold versus the amount made.
And those are probably your biggest glitter consumers, I would think. Maybe
like
I'm wrong.
Strippers, and Christmas.
Yeah, yeah, and it is June, so the gays are probably going through a lot of it at their little pride parades. And
sure.
What have you.
Okay. All right. So June, Christmas, strippers, and hookers.
And lemonade.
Dancers in general. And apparently lemonade. Right.
We solved the mystery.
The rest of the question is, where does the rest of it go? It is a ridiculous amount created a year. And here's the really weird part. When you go looking into the different companies that make the glitter, they're all like super shell companied out. So you can find the people who own the building, and you can find the people who own the money of the company, but you can't find like the CEO of Glitter Incorporated or any such shit as that, right? So not only is it a question where the glitter is going, but who's paying for all this fucking glitter, because they're making a shit ton of it.
Maybe the Jewish space lasers are secretly glitter powered.
Or maybe that's the only thing that can break them up. I don't know, man. I'm just saying.
Oh,
it's always struck me as really weird.
Here's some more cartoons. I've got the 1980-81 TV schedule. The Happy Days cartoon. I forgot about that one, but I used to like that one.
You still haven't said Silverhawks, and I want to beat you up, give you a swirly and like a wedgie and a Melvin.
I have not seen it in any of these pages that I put. Thundar the Barbarian. Do we know who that is?
Yes. I used to watch Thundar because it's stupid. I'd get real high and watch Thundar.
Yeah, I don't have any recollection of that one. Super Friends.
He had a little dinosaur thing with him.
The Tarzan Lone Ranger Adventure Hour. That one I remember, but I had forgotten all about it. Some of this stuff I have absolutely no recollection of. I feel like I've never heard of it, but I should have heard of it if it was on TV every day.
Space Ghost.
Space Ghost, I have not seen yet. There was a lot of Flintstones shows after the first one, weren't there? More than I realized. There's the Flintstones comedy show, which was on from 80 to 81, but it's not the original Flintstones show. The Pebbles and Bam Bam show, I remember that. And then there's the Flintstones Comedy Hour, Captain Caveman, and the Teen Angels. Huh.
Aim for 84. I think 84 would be a sweet spot.
Should I do 84?
83.
All right, let me do 83.
Because I mean, there was sort of a golden heyday of Saturday morning cartoons out there, and yes,
and we lived in
Looney Tunes. Yeah, Looney Tunes was always a part of it, to some extent or another. I personally, when I would go and visit my grandmother, she lived with my uncle, and my uncle was a classic filmophile, and he had a full blown projector with like every Looney Tunes ever fucking produced by Hollywood. It was absolutely glorious. And I'd go over there, and it was the one thing that he could put my autistic ADHD ass down, and I would sit there cross-legged and watch those things till the end of freaking time. You'd have to beat me up and put me to bed. I'd just sit there and watch them.
All right, here comes 1983, Saturday morning first, network by network. On ABC, we have The Littles, the Pac-Man Little Rascals Richie Rich show. I remember that Pac-Man show, but I actually used to like that one, but I forgot that it ever existed. And Rubik the Amazing Cube. They made a freaking cartoon about a Rubik's Cube. Don't remember that.
They did. Don't either.
On CBS, we've got the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show, obviously unassailable classic. The new Fat Albert show. I remember that one. And the Smurfs, but fuck the Smurfs.
The Smurfs, dude.
The Smurfs is for girls. And if you had the Snorks was the Smurf for boys. You're a freaking weirdo.
You're a weirdo because Smurfette wasn't even a Smurf. She was made by Gargamel.
Exactly.
To seduce the Smurfs.
And on NBC, we've got Alvin and the Chipmunks, which wasn't that great, but it was inexplicably popular for some reason. The Shirt Tails. Oh, Mr. T. Wow. I remember that one. The Mr. T cartoon was freaking badass, dude.
It was.
And the Amazing Spider-Man, which I think that was probably the one still.
That's
from
the one where we get the fucking meme from. Yeah, that's the one we get the
meme.
Yeah, the pointing meme.
Yeah, that one's immortal. You can keep rerunning that one forever. And then weekday afternoon syndication, we've got He-Man. Obviously, he keeps popping up goddamn everywhere. Like I said, wasn't very big fan of it. Even when we were 9 and 10 years old, I remember we would be out on the playground talking about how goddamn homoerotic the He-Man show was. So I don't think that was an accident. And that's kind of one of the things that makes me wonder how there would be such a sufficiently widespread amount of nostalgia here in 2026 to make a He-Man movie worthwhile. Because if me and my friends didn't even take it seriously when we were 9, I don't know who did, but I guess somebody did. Wasn't me, it wasn't anybody I knew.
It's true. The Snorks were communists. They were complete communists.
We got G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, again, because that's one of your mainstays, one of your immortals. And then we've got reruns of the Hanna-Barbera classics, Scooby-Doo and Looney Tunes, obviously. And that's the end of the list. But let's look at the Wikipedia article for 1983-84 daily lineups and see if anything else pops up that's of interest.
I'm still upset that freaking Silverhawks haven't made an appearance, and I don't understand why. I love that show. Hell, I've got one of the only 2 freaking copies of an original VHS of Silverhawks that I'm even aware of exists.
You know what? I have to look up your Silverhawks right now, because no matter how many times you say it, I don't have the faintest recollection of it, and
I
it's bugging
got
me
you,
now.
bro. And
Silverhawks.
it's not the comic book.
Didn't come out until 1986, so maybe I was just
Oh, that explains it.
slightly. Maybe I was just a little bit too old for it.
Yeah, you win 85. So it's essentially a space cowboy thing, except there's air and space, and these are all cyborgs, and pretty much everybody in space is a cyborg at this point. And so they're superheroes who are flying space cyborgs of Hawks.
The series is set in the 29th century in the fictional Limbo Galaxy. A bionic space enforcer called Commander Stargazer recruited the Silverhawks, heroes who are partly metal, partly real, to fight the evil Monstar, an escaped alien crime boss who transforms into an enormous armor-plated creature with the help of Limbo's Moonstar. Joining Monstar in his villainy is an intergalactic mob consisting of Yes Man, Buzzsaw, Mumbo Jumbo, Windhammer, Molecular, Pokerface, Hardware, and the musical madness of Melodia. Quicksilver, formerly Jonathan Quick, leads the Silverhawks with his metal bird companion Tallyhawk at his side. Twins Emily and Will Hart become Steelheart and Steel Will. That sounds way too close to Steel Wool, but moving on. The Silverhawks technician and strongman, respectively. Country singing Bluegrass piloted the team's ship, the Mirage. Rounding out the group is a youngster from the planet of Mimes, named the Copper Kid, and usually called Kid for short, a mathematical genius who speaks in whistles and computerized tones. God, this sounds great. The Silverhawks' bionic bodies are covered by a full-body, close-fitting metal armor that only exposes the face and an arm. The armor is equipped with a retractile protective mask, retractable underarm wings, except for Bluegrass, because we can't let the redneck have any nice things, thrusters on their heels, and laser weapons in their shoulders.
Oh, no, Bluegrass was a prototype, sir. You have to understand, he's a pilot.
Oh, okay.
And so when they were putting all this together, he was real early on the whole docket thing. He got most of himself blown apart in a space battle back a little while ago.
I mean, somebody must have a deep attachment to this show, because the the character bios on Wikipedia are very, very detailed. Let me tell you,
dude. I'm one of those guys, bro. Like, it blew my mind when I encountered other people from around different parts of the country, and they had no clue what I was talking about when they'd be like Thundercats, and I'd be like, yeah, and Silverhawks, and they'd be like, what? I'm like, no, dude, Silverhawks, it was a fucking bomb. They were like Thundercats in space, but different.
I wonder if it was a regional thing. I wonder if it was on I wonder if it was on in your part of the country and not in mine. Let me ask the internet about that. In fact, I'm going to ask a detailed question. My co-host used to love the Silverhawks.
Metal, not real. Basically, each one of these individuals, with the exception of the mime, had some sort of disaster take place that injured them. It's the only reason they can come to space in the first place. When you get a good look at all the enemies too, all of them are either like possessed space armor mechs or outright robots for the most part. Some of them are like really hardcore cyborgs, like the Silverhawks too. And what's funny is, like, there's some old ones out there that were they're like Temu versions of things. So you'll come across some dude who's farming freaking crap berries on Crap World, where all the crap berries grow, and he's got like this jet for one leg so he doesn't step on the berries or whatever. It's silly.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Queen. It sounds like it's just me, but at any rate, I'm going to read out the answer that I just got from Gemini. It says, it is likely not a regional thing, but rather due to the show's short lifespan. While Silverhawks is fondly remembered by those who watched it, it only ran for a single season of 65 episodes in the fall of 1986. Because it was broadcast in syndication instead of on a major national network, local station availability and time slots varied wildly, meaning many kids simply missed it. Many people are in the same boat as you for a few distinct reasons. Number one, Thundercats Shadow. Created by the same studio, Rankin Bass, as a space-based follow-up to Thundercats, it was heavily overshadowed by its much more successful predecessor. Number two, Syndication Roulette. Because it wasn't anchored to a major national network like Fox or the Disney afternoon blocks that dominated later in the 90s, local stations aired it at different times of the day, sometimes as early as 5 a.m., making it easy to miss. Number three, the toy factor. The few kids who strongly remember the show are often those who owned the iconic action figures like the chrome figures with squeeze action wing spreading arms, which had a longer shelf life than the cartoon itself. Oh, that one deserves a rim shot. You're funny, Gemini.
But actually, that's the funny thing about it is like Silverhawks never really left the toy shelves. There were just enough people who saw it that loved it because it had everything that Thundercats had and wasn't Thundercats.
I don't remember I don't remember the toys or the show. It seems like I would remember one or the other.
If you never encountered them, no, I guess not. It's possible, but like they say, it was on at Wild Times. It wasn't like a Saturday morning cartoon for long at all. But
yeah, the thing just 1 year apparently.
Like, after it wasn't a Saturday morning cartoon, it came on at 4 in the afternoons after school. And then later it was like coming on at like 6 a.m. And call me an old fuddy, but I used to get up at 5 a.m. and watch The Real Ghostbusters and Silverhawks while I ate my Cheerios and got ready for work. But I would sit there for an hour and watch those two damn cartoons at freaking 5 o'clock in the morning before I went to work. Is there something wrong with me?
Yeah, but that's a topic for a separate program. Yeah, I used to, if there was a show that I really enjoyed that came on super early on Saturday morning, I would get up for it.
Well, no, this was like on a weekday, yeah, like every day of the week,
you know. And you're talking about when you're an adult anyway, so
yeah.
Everybody knows my view on adults who watch cartoons, so I will just keep my mouth shut.
The morning we rented this apartment downtown, right? It was like my first apartment. It was my buddy's second apartment. We rented this apartment. We worked at a window factory, right? I'm sitting there one morning at 5 a.m. watching fucking Silverhawks literally eating Cheerios when a microburst comes blowing through my town and literally blows my window out of the frame. My roommate, and this was so surreal, because we just happened to have like a stack of papers right in front of the window. And so when the sash broke in, it fell down on the papers, bounced, rolled off, and it created this perfect little storm of picking up each individual paper and turning it into a freaking hurricane of papers inside the room. And I'm sitting there eating Cheerios. And my roommate's alarm had gone off like 2 seconds before that shit happened. But I watched the thing, the whole window just like bow in and then rebound and then bow in and rattle and then rebound. And then the third time it bowed in, that thing popped off. My roommate's walking down the stairs. The papers go goddamn everywhere. And he looks over at me and goes, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "What the fuck?" And there's like...
So apparently Saturday morning cartoons.
Right. Crack baby go, I thank you. My mama thank you too, but she dead. That's $5 I got from him. I'm happy to. I got a button.
Oh, nice.
Push over here.
You should
we got it just for you, dude. This is how we do it.
Saturday. No problem. I might be late though. The transports are slow on weekends. What time will you get here? Monday.
Your Majesty, what do you think about Luke?
I think he's a loser.
Yo, Duque! Pick up the phone!
Yo.
What's up?
People who hate AI are doing AI wrong because AI is freaking awesome.
Bro, I got a whole stack of AI crap. However, I
know.
can't use most of it because it's like 0.24 megabytes too big or whatever. It can only be like 2 megabytes in StreamYard, so I have to like change all of the uploads and stuff. Tootie Bug has also sent me another bundle. I got this here for you.
Warriors, come out to play. Warriors, come out to play.
This one's for you, buddy. Nice.
My man raking in the dough. I guess the cartoon
like
episode must be fairly popular.
I would assume so. How effective? This is the bottom half of the hour, and I want to try to squeeze this one in.
Okay, go ahead.
So we do our students dirty, right? We take a bunch of people, we lock them in a room, and we tell them to sit still and pay attention and regurgitate facts back at them as we deliver it to them, and then we test them on their ability to do that. At what point in time in our evolution do you think that was beneficial?
Number one, I don't know. Number two, do they still do that anymore? Since there are so few objective standards in childhood education anymore. I mean, granted, my kids are adults now, so I'm not really as connected to the school scene as I once was. But from what I hear, it seems like most school classrooms and schedules and curricula would be largely unrecognizable to people our age. But I could be mistaken in that.
Well, no. I mean, the philosophy is still the same, even if the effect is absolute trash, right? They stick people in a little room and try to make them regurgitate bullshit that was fed to them earlier. And I'm not sure that's doing anybody any justice, but my point is, evolutionarily speaking, an ADHD mind is way more effective at survival. Hold on. I think I'll just do this one verbally. Check it out. So they decided to kind of test this, right? To determine what benefit an ADHD brain could be. And so they set up this test where they took a bunch of really good students who did all of the sitting and staring and focusing and passing tests and all of that stuff, and a bunch of learning disabled ADHD anxiety kids. And they broke them into two separate groups, and they gave them the goal of picking as many berries as they can over a certain amount of time. I think it was 4 hours. And they released them into the berry patch, and they both went and picked berries, same number of people, same amount of time, same amount of effort. And the ADHD kids, with only the task of picking the most berries, outstripped the other kids, because the other kids had to discuss whether or not they should move to a different bush before they would move, whereas the ADHD kids all just spread out across the entire patch and picked everything. And the people who did the study went on to expound on it, saying that not only did the ADHD kids bring back like 5 times more berries, but also some frogs, a handful of tadpoles, one brought a fish, a really cool rock, and some sticks.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Like on a survival basis, they were like way above the queue, right?
Yep, because they're thinking big picture, 30,000 foot view. I guess that's
I
the
don't
benefit
think so.
you get or maybe not.
You get 25 versions of the little picture from my view, because that's a really cool rock, bro. Like, I picked a bunch of berries too. I did that before I came and got the rock, right?
Yeah,
and I don't even know what the kid that got
cool
the fish
rock.
was.
It's the only thing that exists in my world from this moment forward.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So, when you compare that to the normal, big, huge, enormous quotation marks, normal kids, right? See, I was never one of those normal kids. I never fit into any of that silliness at all.
But
I was the kid who would sit in the back of the room and like literally be making the drop sound.
Right. Oh yeah, I remember that kid.
That was me.
But I remember some kids here and there who I went to school with when I was very young. Like, I'm thinking second, third, fourth grade who were diagnosed with what we today would call ADHD. I forget what the hell it was called back then, but the standard remedy was just to have the kid pound some tranquilizers and go sit and be in a coma for the rest of the day. And it was really kind of a disturbing thing to watch. I understand that some kids get too wound up and they wind up disrupting the class, and then but they would go up to the teacher's desk and get a little paper cup with their little pills in it, and they take their little pills, and then they would go in the back room and you wouldn't hear a peep out of them for the rest of the day. They wouldn't get any useful work done, obviously, but they sure as shit were not disrupting the class anymore. That's for damn sure. Which one is better? I guess I can't say. And we're probably running into one of the problems, as you mentioned, with the whole institutional model of childhood education.
So we had a bit of a different approach, apparently, locally. Ritalin was widely prescribed.
That's what it was. It was, I remember that it was Ritalin. It's, what's the correct way to describe it?
It's
tranquilizer.
Well, no. Ritalin is a stimulant. Like, what is it called? It's a pre-elemental stimulant or something like that. When it gets in your brain, it does a very similar thing to cocaine. You tend to have more focus in a specific task than spreading it out. It's kind of like meth if like you bought meth off Temu,
First of all,
it's not a sedative.
P-Fletch, you may circle the bases, and please take your time. Second of all, why in God's name would you give stimulants to a hyperactive child? And why would it have the effect of pacifying them? I don't understand.
Because they would go to the back room, sit down, and start drawing in their freaking book and never hear a word of anything that was saying, but they also wouldn't really act out. And I know it doesn't make any cognitive sense on this end, but when you've got somebody whose problem is they can't focus and you give them something that God can't stop from focusing, it does have a calming effect in that they're focused on doing a thing rather than disrupting the class.
Huh. Yeah.
But it also gives them gorilla strength. So there's that.
It definitely is counterintuitive to consider hyperactivity being treated with stimulants, but I ain't no doctor. So I guess we're up against the end of my expertise.
I drink a cup of coffee and I go to sleep. I drink a pot of coffee and I'll go to sleep, especially if it's cold outside, dude. Fuck around and have like a snowy day. I'll sit down in the morning, watch me a couple of episodes of something, drink half a pot of coffee and take a nap, dude. I love that shit.
Yeah, Tootie Bug. I didn't watch the Critical Drinker video, but I did see the thumbnail in my feed, and I will make a point to watch it because I kind of am curious about what sort of a picture it turned out to be. Like, what kind of a He-Man picture would you make? And I remember seeing. Do you remember the Dolph Lundgren, Courtney Cox He-Man picture? I do.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. It was a dedicated. Okay, hold on. Isn't that the one where she's trying to figure out why there's sticks inside the chicken?
Yes. Pretty sure. Yeah, I know the it's a movie that today is regarded as legendarily terrible, and probably not without good reason, but as I recall, I enjoyed the movie a lot more than I enjoyed the cartoon.
Hold on though, bro. That thing was made for like $27 in a Hummer behind the fucking Cybertruck over there, right?
Oh, damn right. Yeah.
It was made for nothing, dude. There is almost zero effort in anything associated with the film, but it wasn't for a lack of heart. It was for a lack of funding, bro. Like, originally that show, if I remember right, was supposed to have some absurd fucking budget. And then after they cast off and got all the people together to do the thing, they were like, actually, we're all going to be working for peanuts. But the people doing the movie wanted to do it so freaking bad that they all kind of went, but it's still He-Man, right? They were like, yeah. All right, so let's make a fucking movie.
if I'm not mistaken, that was the very next thing that Dolph Lundgren did after he got his big break playing Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. Because I'm pretty sure it was, if he dies, he dies.
If he dies, he dies. Right?
And I still think it was awesome that they brought him back in the second Creed movie. I thought that was pretty well done.
Fuck yeah, right? That whole thing where they're not fighters anymore. They are not enemies anymore. They are just two old soldiers who happen to fight in the same war, right? And there's a level of respect where they're just staring at each other, kind of like, I still think I could take you, bitch.
And I thought it was a pretty outstanding acting performance on his part. You know,
it was fucking magnificent.
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Yep. There's layers to this one. This scene of Dolph Lundgren and Sylvester Stallone sitting across from each other actually resonates through several different movies, right? There's several action films where they were on opposing sides of because Dolph always played the fucking German, the Stalinist.
Oh yeah, because the Expendables, huh? I forgot about that.
Right. So you end up with this weird layered bit of lore that's sitting on these people. Yeah, that's Khal Drogo or Ivan Drago, but it's also every Russian, German, Eastern Bloc European from every 80s movie ever, and that's Sylvester Stallone. That's Rambo. That's fucking. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And yeah, I mean, if you're going to make a list of prototypical 80s movie villains, Ivan Drago has to be at or near the top. There's no way he can't be. And how many?
Isn't he like a multi-doctorate? Doesn't Dolph Lundgren have
so, yes.
5 doctorates or some shit?
I have heard that. We got a couple minutes. Let me look it up real fast.
I read that shit in some book many moons ago that basically Dolph Lundgren made the statement that his step to fame, in his opinion, was basically access to higher education. Like he had to be famous to be able to go to the colleges he wanted to go to, but I mean, that doesn't really check out either if you think about it.
Yeah, dude, check this out. Dolph Lundgren holds a master's degree in chemical engineering. After graduating from Sweden's KTH Royal Institute of Technology, he earned his master's at the University of Sydney in 1982. He was later awarded a prestigious Fulbright scholarship to MIT, but deferred it to pursue his acting career. His impressive academic and martial arts background include the following details. He studied chemistry at both Washington State and Clemson on academic scholarships prior to his master's. He earned his bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the Royal Institute of Technology, completed his master's in chemical engineering at the University of Sydney, awarded the Fulbright scholarship, which he declined to exercise. And Lundgren is widely reported to have an IQ of 160 and is a member of Mensa.
He is brilliant. I've heard him speak on a couple of occasions on like really weird shit. Like one of them was a discussion of the dispersion of light between galaxies and why it's possible we might not be getting any, because of the dark forest analogy, that we can't receive signals through what's between the galaxies, and so we don't know what's between the stars, and so we don't get signals because you can't see it.
He's like the Brian May of the acting world.
Dude, there's a couple of them, actually. I can't remember who the chick is, but there is a relatively famous actress, or she used to be really famous, and she's got like 27 fucking doctorates, too.
What about Hedy Lamarr? Hedy Lamarr, one of the most brilliant inventors in world history, and also a famous Hollywood sex symbol. How often do those two things intersect?
I read somewhere that Sandra Bullock was really big, not so much in getting additional and like higher education, but in getting adults there into higher education. Like, I don't know why. I don't know where the big deal was with there, but
Mayim Bialik. That's a good call too. She is also educationally accomplished, as I understand.
Who's Mayim Bialik?
Blossom. And
Oh,
also
yeah.
Big Bang Theory. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks ever so much for joining us here on the Blast Radius tonight. I hope you enjoyed the readout of the Gerald Ford bicentennial speech. I enjoyed reading it out. I think it's a good speech. So I hope that was good for you, because it was good for me. Hope you enjoyed all the cartoon discussion and the other discussion that was fairly wide-ranging but totally unplanned. I think it worked out pretty well based on the amount of money that the other guy raked in tonight. Good for him. Always happy to see it. Hope you have a great tomorrow and an edifying day after, and a delightful rest of your week. We will see you next Sunday, as we always do, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, same curmudgeon time, same Sasquatch channel. Until then, please do take care. See you next time. Do not comply. Get off my lawn.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?